Hello everyone, Cory Mitchell here, and this is the current swing trading watch list. A lot going on, a ton of triggered from last week's list. Obviously, can't trade them all. My advice is when you're going through a big list and you got to narrow it down, write down why you picked those stocks you did. Yes, there's going to be, a little bit of an element of randomness, but if you continually do that, you write down why you're taking stocks, things you noticed, why you like them as opposed to some other ones, then over time you can start to build up inventory of trades that worked well for certain reasons, and you can start building off that. So I think I have everything here. There were a lot that got added. I added some last week, and as you can see, a lot have triggered. Some have not from last week. Haven't done much with this. There are some that are still potentially setting up from the high momentum best swing trading stocks list. I did not do anything with this. One had earnings out and failed. We don't enter right before earnings, so it's basically a nullified trade if it just drops on earnings. And this one took off, so we'll go through those charts. So let's go through the charts. So these are the ones that have not triggered yet. So we had teed up, nice jump, and we're just getting that consolidation, which we like. HIM's earnings came out right here, kind of a bit of a jump prior to that, and we're just waiting for that consolidation. Same thing, the pop, waiting for the consolidation. This is on a couple lists. This is on the best swing trading stocks list, and it's also showing up here on earnings. You can see the earnings pop, big jump, and the pullback has dropped it below the ATR stops line. So you could wait for that potential signal, or once this slows down a little bit, so we did get a signal to go long here. So this actually could be, I can mark this as green, as that it's triggered. But yeah, after this sell-off, and it sold off quite aggressively, I guess. So was looking for a little bit more of a stabilization. Again, so reasons why you might take trades or avoid trades when you're writing down why you'd want to take some. Big pop, consolidating. Same thing here, consolidating, so waiting for, just a pop above this area. Might have actually triggered visual. I'm usually just looking at these visually, not the exact numbers. And yeah, so now that it's consolidated a bit, I could put an entry above there. This one would actually be a green. It has triggered. Got a little pullback, and it's starting to move to the upside. No red candles in there, so again, it's a little bit nicer when you get the pop up, a day or two of selling that kind of narrows, and then, it's easier to spot than this. But that one also triggered. This one waiting on as well. This one hasn't really given us a bit of a pullback yet. This one still running to the upside, no pullback. These are new ones that I added this week. So these are just basically starting their pop higher, and we need to wait for the little pullback or consolidation. CDE, TPC, GOGO, Groupon, QBTS, CMT. Just a massive list right now of stocks on the run. FSLY, BKSY, OSCR Health, QDEL. This one I marked as red. It did have a trigger here. Kind of bigger candles, kind of whipsaw-y. We had this whipsaw up. I prefer if it looks a little cleaner. At the same time, we did technically have a trigger on this one. Some of the ones that have triggered. This is more what I like to see. We had the pop. We did have a bit of consolidation there, but we do get a selling, and then we get that kind of smaller candle. And this one happened to be very low volume, something nice to see. Won't see it all the time. This one, a bigger candle again, it has triggered, but I don't love this as much. You know, quite a bit of selling coming here, undercut that, gap up a bit. Could work out, but yeah, bigger candle. You know, if we're picking trades, I prefer this setup a little bit better. Here, big move up, a little bit more of a systematic pullback. Big drop off, volume, and popping up. This one, a little bit ugly, but nonetheless has triggered. This one looking prettier. Again, we're not going to win all these, right? Some are going to be little winners, some are going to be small losers, some are going to be full losses, some are going to be huge winners if we're using a trailing stop loss type exit. This is more classic of what I like to see. Bigger candles on this up move, and then you get smaller candles. Allows you to keep relatively small risk. This one more of a pop up, pretty clear consolidation. Red candle gives you a sense that that pullback's started. I don't usually go long until day 4, so it would have been in here. And again, there's no way I could trade all these, so it's, you know, you pick the ones that, again, appeal to you and at the time. And also which trigger first. You know, you only have so much capital, so maybe you have 10 trades you like, and you know, the first ones that trigger sometimes are the first ones you get. Trigger right there. Pretty clean pattern there, little pullback. You get these tiny candles, which I like, keeps the risk very low. These all, you know, this one a little bit more of a drift up. Not quite as clean. This one a little bit choppier there on the gap up. A little pause. Same with this one. So again, some of these not as clean, but they've technically triggered. And again, that's why you'd go through, look at what kind of setup do you visually like. Some of these that just kind of drift up don't really appeal to me. Ones that for the high momentum strategy, which is just basically, we have this indicator on our chart, which can also be used as a trailing stop loss for the earnings plays. And when it drops below, that shows it's dropped below the line. When it moves back above, you know, we have one of these potential periods where it's moving up and we're below the line, so we could get triggered to the upside if it moves back up through that line. So basically this area here on this chart, PLTR. This was a rounded bottom in play. We basically have these rising lows and boom, gone. This was earnings, so not much to be done. We don't take, I don't take trades before earnings for a swing trade. I take them after, so this is missed, and now it essentially could become a earnings play. This was not on the list. How much was the move up? Yeah, so this would fall just under my criteria. I like to see, you know, at least 12, those 15, 20% jumps on multiple times volume. So this would fall a little bit under that cusp, but still a nice breakout of this rounded bottom pattern. But that one can be deleted. This one was a rounded bottom, and you know, this is kind of the pullback area, so we're just kind of hanging out there. This is another one on the high momentum stock list. It's a little bit stuck lately, and yeah, just dropped below earnings recently as well. So that's what dropped it a bit, and it's stuck below the line. So those are just a ton of stocks in play right now. Some have set up, some have triggered, and if one's triggered, there is that option to put it out at the original kind of entry point where that price started moving up, clearing above prior candle highs after about day 4 of the earnings jump is day 1. Then you have a couple days after, and then day 4 or so of the event is when we potentially be looking to get into trades, or after. And so when that you get that little pullback or the consolidation, and then we start making higher candle highs. That's a potential entry point. So even if it's run a little bit away, we can put the order there just in case we get a pullback. Let's see if we can see an example. So like Duolingo here, maybe that's not the best example. Yeah, so this is, you know, kind of cleaner. We have a little bit of chop here. We get the pullback that we're looking for. A little bit smaller candle. Trigger price is right there when it starts moving above a candle high. So we're still in that vicinity. An order still could go out there potentially with a stop loss below here. There is always, whenever we're swing trading, the risk of gaps against us, right? If you put a stop loss here and then the price gaps down, we're looking at bigger losses. That's why any single trade we have to view as, you know, doesn't really matter in the whole scheme of things, because we're also going to get good gaps in our favor, right? This could, you know, have another huge gap, which boosts our profit more than expected to the upside. So, you know, over 100 trades, yeah, you might have one that dings you because it gaps against you, but you're probably going to have some that gap with you and eradicate that loss or nullify it because you have good experiences and bad experiences. But if you're only looking at it as an individual trade and you beat yourself up every time something bad goes wrong, that's, you know, you're in a tough spot. Whereas if you look at it as over many trades, yeah, sometimes you get a bad break, sometimes you're going to get a good break, but overall, if we're making good decisions, we should be able to, you know, ride some of this momentum. So that's the swing trading watch list for this week. You can always see the updated list on the website. I'll add it to the stocks section here. It's not via quick link, but I'll add it in there. And you'll be able to access it there right now if you just go to stocks, stock market analysis, and trades. Whenever this list is updated, it'll be in that section. If you like these or find it helpful, found some stocks that potentially you could trade, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and happy trading.